What's up, everyone? We haven't sat down in a little while, but another episode of Yin and Yancy, and always it's unscripted. Don't know what we're gonna talk about today, but I think you had something on your mind.
Yeah.
That I told you to save it. Yeah.
Right now, if you was to hit your stomach, punch your stomach as hard as you could, and it hurt, does that make you weak or strong?
What kind of question? Yeah, you see that guy, yeah. Oh. we gonna test them out for real. Yeah. That means part of you weak, yeah. And then the
right, that's what I'm saying. If it hurts, are you weak or are you strong, man?
Yeah. No, but
shower thoughts, bro.
Actually,
shower thoughts.
We are gonna turn this into an actual legit question. Yeah. So, one of the things is that with training, you know as much as anybody that I've worked with, right, for many, many years, there's always strengths and weaknesses that we gotta work at, right?
Yeah.
And this is actually the perfect analogy because if you did punch yourself in the stomach, a lot of us, we are really strong in the big muscles, you know, the flashy muscles, the exercises, right? Yeah. And then a lot of times we're lacking the core, right? Or we're using our core in the wrong way. So if you kind of think about this question, that it kind of makes sense because how many people would actually punch their stomach and feel like their core, or knock the air out of them or whatever? And how many other people would punch themselves in the stomach and be like, that was no damage on my core. I can't generate enough force with my arms, right? Which is kind of like, ideally, you want to be strong here. You don't want to be able to just punch your stomach and be hurt from it or knock the air out or whatever, right? So it is kind of funny, but talk a little bit about that because the message here that I want to discuss is that a lot of us, we like to continue to work on our strengths. Yeah. And it's not very fun or not the most engaging thing to continue to work on the weak points, but it's the weak points that's going to help to bring out more of your strengths. Yeah. It's the weak points that's going to help you to make you a better athlete, right? Yeah. Talk a little bit about that.
Well, I think what we do is like when we go to, I can give you a good example, like if we was to go to 24-hour fitness and work out, most times, since everyone's watching, you're gonna go to what keeps you safe. You know what you can do, right? Because you have this image of like, oh dang, like I gotta make sure I can bench, and like, oh I know if I bench, I can bench 225. I know I do that well. Yeah. I can do that good, right? You don't wanna. It's hard to go into a gym like 24 and like look weak. Yeah. But then you'll go into here H&L or go into tactical, and everybody here in tactical or places like that, they don't give a fuck if you're struggling. Yeah. You should be. You should be. You know what I mean? Like and then that's where I learned that there are a difference between trainers and coaches, right? Like if you see me weak, you train me. You're like, oh, a trainer's like, oh, come on, we can do this. Coach is like, yep, that's what it looks like. We gotta strengthen that, bro. Like, that's exactly what we're like. Yes, everything you feel is supposed to be felt. That, like where it's like. Those environments, and you change that, and it's always progression in that sense. Yeah. So I always look towards that, and like your core is everything that you're talking about. Like it is. That's what I realized from watching a kid, my own daughter. Like how do she knew how to her head up. I'm like that's all core. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like from her now learning to she's 7 months, she's learning to stand up, and she can stand up and. All core. Yeah. Like, she can sit down like this and just totally her core holds her up. I can bend her backwards, she's like holding herself up. Like, and this is just all the things I recognize. I ain't reading anything. So I feel that your core is, the inner part of you is really the base of where you should be. Yeah. Your power should, or your grounding yourself in whatever you compete in. Like, even when I walk, I'm engaged with how my core feels. Before I'd walk like this and just, now I'm like, okay, like my core is like engaged, and it's a big factor. No, it does play a big factor now that I'm older, in the game and just still competing. Like it does play a factor in like how really good the inside is, not just the outside.
Exactly. No, there's a lot of great things we could go on and on. If you think about it too, like. To do all of the bigger lifts or the more athletic feats and all of that, it requires a lot of training with these smaller muscles, the weaknesses, right? And I think when you go into the gym with that mindset, like it's gonna be a struggle, I'm gonna push myself, it doesn't matter what the exercise is, but I'm gonna really work on these limiting factors or weak links. Yeah. that makes a huge difference that you're gonna feel later on. Instead of just doing all the things that's in your comfort zone that you feel is your strengths, that you feel comfortable with, right? All of those kind of things, it only gets you so far. And I think that's what people will learn eventually, you know, hopefully sooner than later. But you can go into like your commercial gym setting and then just do all of the main lifts. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're paying attention or focusing on all of the things that you need to focus as an athlete, because some of those other smaller muscles, some of those other, you know, less, I guess, compound movements or less flashy exercises, they're the ones that's really going to elevate what your output is, what you're doing as an athlete, right? Yeah. Do you have anything on that note that, I don't know, could be anything that you're thinking of? Yeah.
I'd say whatever you're doing, start small and be consistent with it.
Yeah.
Don't try and go leaps and bounds and like, I think find a consistency of something and then make your adjustments. Don't just like go in there and feel like, oh, I gotta make all these big changes to, you know, for the weak stuff, especially for the weak stuff. There's a lot of things that I have to address, and we've been working on it for over 7 years now, right? And it's way better than what it ever was. All the things that I need to be weak, but there's still so much more that I need to like progress in. And like, I think that's the biggest part. And everybody has their own different pace to get to where they need to be.
Yeah. That's actually a good point that we'll end off on, because it's this idea of like, you're trying to master something even though you'll probably never master it, right?
Yes.
And that goes with martial arts, that goes with exercise, like, you need to have the awareness that I'm gonna keep getting better consistently, right? And this kind of little by little, step by step approaches, right? But then also know that even when you reach a level that, oh, this is way better than what it was before, not being so naive or ignorant to think like, oh, it's good enough, there's no more room for improvement, right? Because there's always going to be a lot of room for improvement, even as you get to higher and higher elite levels, or you get very technically sound. There's always ways that you can adjust certain things to make it more applicable to you, help to continue that improvement, right? So again, that mindset of, you know, we're trying to master something, whether it's an exercise, whether it's a skill, but you'll probably never master it.
Real quick, I've been doing that with my coffee. I make coffee every morning.
And
yesterday I was looking at myself making coffee, and I was like, okay, what type of moves am I making to make this transition and transaction easier? Or do I just look like somebody that's not, you know, I can put my stuff here and I'm crossing things over. Like, you're not gonna go put weights on and then walk over here. You're like, bro, you put here. Like, everything, you're not wasting movements, right? Those are things I clean up on, especially when I lift for my body, but outside too. Just the small things, bro.
Exactly.
Consistency and less wasted movement.
Consistency and efficiency.
Thank you.
That's
exactly.
That's the
word. I think that's a big part of having a good base in anything, so you can be strong on the inside and the outside.
Exactly. So then you're going to try to punch yourself in the stomach?
Nah, I get partners to do that. Go Max Holloway. Bless, baby.
So anyway, that was the message. Started off with a funny question, but it's always relatable and applicable to anything that you're doing. So until next time, tune in for another
Yin and Yancy. I'll see you later.